Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, and today I have a Crypto Times article which talks about some coin that had left the Pi Foundation Liquidity Reserve wallet, and we'll take a look at that. I also have a correction on yesterday's video regarding unactivated wallets. I have an update on my anti-scammer-bot, and I have a new metric that I'll be rolling out shortly that I want to tell you about as well. But first, the metrics. The circulating supply is 7.41 billion Pi, and there were 9,834 user accounts migrated yesterday, totaling 4.2 million Pi. There is 40.7 million Pi in the Pi migration wallet, and I will say that migrations have resumed for today, and I'll give you those numbers tomorrow. The migrated unlocked rewards is at 2.17 billion Pi, with 10.7 million Pi unlocked in the last 24 hours and now free to be traded on the open market. Looking at the price action, the Pi coin is currently trading at 63 cents, which is down 1.50% from this time yesterday. The market cap is at 4.69 billion, which is down 1.4%. The daily trading volume is at $55.48 million, which is down 16.57% from this time yesterday. And as you can see from the chart, we were trading relatively sideways at about 64.5 cents. And then we had a series of downturns, which brought us down to about 62.8 cents. And we had a slight rise up here, and now we're looking maybe going sideways back at 63 cents. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. Trading volume's low, so be careful. I saw something on X yesterday that gave me this idea, and it's something that I've been toying with for a while, and I don't know how useful it'll be, but this is an output from a new script that I've created, and what it's doing is going through the Pi Foundation 2 wallet, which is where all user accounts are created, at least their wallets. And I'm going to get a total number of user accounts that are on the Pi network mainnet. And this will give us some idea of how many migrated accounts there have been. When we went to open mainnet, the goalpost was 10 million migrated users. Now, I'm sure we've gotten quite a bit more than that since then, but it'll be good to know roughly where we are with respect to user accounts themselves in total to kind of gauge like when we can expect things like second migration. Now, as you can see here, I've already scanned 21,200 pages of the output from this particular wallet. So it's going to take me a while to get the final number, but once I have it, I'll be able to run it daily along with some of my other metrics, and it won't take very long. So this is the hard part. So I have an update on my anti-scammer bot. As you know, my last attempt failed, and I'm going to give it one last shot. I've been working feverishly to squeeze out every bit of speed that I can get, as well as making the script robust to network errors. What I found was that the scammers flood the network so much that the servers are throwing errors all over the place. And if you're not robust to handling them, they could knock you out of the running just by errors. And I don't want that to happen. I'm going to stay in there until I verify that that balance is gone. Either I'll have it or they'll have it, but they're not going to knock me out of the race. So stay tuned for that. Yesterday, I talked about activation of wallets, and a moderator pointed out a mistake that I had made. The unactivated wallets that you create in the Pi network cannot accept Pi coin. And my mistake was assuming that it behaved the same way as it does on the Stellar consensus protocol blockchain, and it does not. on the Stellar blockchain, when you create a wallet, you can fund it with coin, but you just can't do anything with it because you don't have the signing authority to confirm transactions. But with the Pi wallet, the Pi network is a fork of the Stellar Consensus Protocol. It's not a verbatim implementation, so there are subtle differences, and this is one of them. When a wallet is created in the Pi network app, it is not even added to the blockchain yet, so it cannot receive any Pi. If you try, it will fail because it doesn't see it on the blockchain. Activating the wallet puts it on the blockchain. So that's a little bit different than the way it works on the Stellar network. So I was wrong there. So for everybody who's making new wallets to transfer Pi that may be saved from a scammer, it's not going to work. You'll need to either find a trusted friend who will hold your recovered Pi, if there is any, or you'll have to move it to a exchange wallet until you can move it back. But you cannot move it to a newly created wallet unless it's activated. I apologize for having that bit of information wrong, and I thank the moderator for correcting me, because I'd hate to see people thinking this is a viable option because I said so and it wasn't. There's an article on the Crypto Times talking about some moves that have happened on the Liquidity Reserve, and that is the Pi Foundation. Well, it's the Liquidity Reserve wallet, and I'll show you what that is in a second. So this is PiScan, and as you can see, all of the known major wallets for the Pi network are listed here, including the Liquidity Reserve. In a previous video, I talked about what the Liquidity Reserve is for, and it is literally to manage liquidity of the Pi coin, usually with respect to exchanges. The article talks about a large transaction that was made out of this wallet, and that was 2 days ago for $2 million. What they fail to mention is that this is not unique. If you look here, we have several transactions, 6 million, 6 million, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, only 2 months ago. It is not unusual for transactions to come out of here. And we can take a look at the wallet that it went to. So this is the payment from the Liquidity Reserve to this wallet. And as you can see, it's not gone anywhere. Now, oftentimes what you'll see is transactions to the exchanges. Gate.io, OKX, Gate.io, OKX, and they're all here. MEXC. So this wallet is being used for what it's meant to be used for. Luckily, people are smart enough to not just jump to the conclusion that the Pi core team is selling Pi. These wallets all exist for a specific purpose, and it's all outlined in the tokenomics. Right now, there's 3 million that went from the Liquidity Reserve into there. So they're preparing for something. What that is, I don't know. It could just be another infusion into the exchanges to help them manage their liquidity, or it could be getting used for something else. But there's a limited number of uses that this could be used for. So I don't know. We'll have to just keep an eye on it. But let's take a look at that Crypto Times article. This says here, 200 million Pi network tokens removed from Liquidity Reserve. The Pi community is now focused on June 28th, known as Pi 2 Day. It's a significant event when the Pi team typically provides milestones and updates. Now, we haven't heard anything, no hints, nothing about Pi 2 Day. So I don't know what's going to happen, and it doesn't have that far to go to beat Pi Day, right? A major transaction involving 2 million Pi. Notice that number. It's not 200 million, it's 2 million. A major transaction involving 2 million Pi tokens recently took place on the Pi network. These tokens were removed from a Liquidity Reserve and moved to a new wallet, sparking speculation across the crypto community. Well, of course it did. There's always speculation whenever Pi moves among the Pi core team wallets. It's interesting, though, that they chose to put 200 million here. Either that was an honest mistake or it was a grab, right? They wanted to grab people with a sensational headline and wondering if people would catch that in the details. Moon Jeff, a popular crypto commentator on X, has shared about this major movement. He believes this was an OTC, over-the-counter purchase where tokens are bought privately rather than through public exchanges. Well, I can tell you right now that's not what this is, because the coin is still in a Pi Core Team wallet. So this is not an OTC transaction. If it were an OTC transaction, we'd see it moved somewhere else. Maybe they're preparing for an OTC, but they wouldn't be doing OTCs out of the liquidity reserve. The liquidity reserve is to manage liquidity. It's not for giving large sums of Pi to some random buyer. And how it gets to the exchanges can be in any number of ways. The exchange could do an OTC purchase, or it could be lent to the exchange, or it could be something else entirely. There's all kinds of ways that this can be used, but they're limited. And a straight out OTC sale to some random person is not what this is for. And like I said, it's still there. It's not gone anywhere. PiCoin always goes out of the liquidity reserve wallet into this other wallet, and then that's where it gets distributed. I don't know why they do it that way, but they follow this pattern for a lot of things, so it's not that unusual. This type of move indicates that someone probably purchased the tokens privately, not on public exchanges. Such moves tend to be perceived as bullish since they indicate that large investors are still stacking up Pi tokens. At press time, the price of Pi coin is around 64 cents, showing a 1.78% increase in the last 24 hours. It has dropped around 40% over the last month and 1.6% over the past week. While the price hasn't moved much, the token transfer might be adding some positive sentiment. However, Pi is still near its all-time low and far away from the all-time high. Analysts are divided. Jeff recently said send Pi back to $1.20, pointing to that price as a key resistance level. I don't think $1.20 is a resistance level right now. Let's get it up to 70 cents before we start talking about $1.20. Right now, the resistance level is about 65 cents because it's not getting past there easily. I would more conservatively set it at around 70 cents, maybe 68 cents. But $1.20, we're far off. If it breaks the current resistance level, it could go up to around there, but I don't see it happening right now. He believes if Pi can break through that level, it could begin a strong comeback and possibly reach $2 in the future. Not everyone agrees. Some commenters reacted sarcastically to Moon Jeff's optimism. Yeah, understandable. Saying it's unlikely Pi will recover soon. Many feel investor confidence is low and that the Pi Core team needs to do more to regain trust. The Pi community is now focused on June 28th, known as Pi Day 2. It's a significant event when the Pi team typically provides milestones and updates. Many users are expecting something big, such as a highly anticipated Binance listing. Oh my God. Here we go with the B word again. All right. I'm not going to read the rest of this because, as most things related to the Pi network, everything becomes a vehicle to grouse about pre-existing problems. Even my own channel. Doesn't matter what the nature of my video is. All of the questions are, when will I get migrated? What's wrong with my KYC? When will we get validator rewards? It's like, come on, people. This video has nothing to do with that. And the answers are the same that you're hearing everywhere. If you really want to know the answer to those questions, I have an FAQ that's linked in my description and pinned as the top post. Everything you want to know is there. So that's all I've got for today. Little more news than the past couple of days. But if anything else breaks, I'll be sure to hop on here and let you know. But until then, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.